Right. I think we'll get started actually because it's 1 minute past 1 now.
Absolutely.
So to start off, Jake, it's great to have you here on Swan Home Artists Facebook Live this morning.
It's great to be here.
Well, it's lunchtime. Thank you. And you of course represented by Swan Home Artists and have been with us for about 6 months or so. Could you just tell us a little bit? You did finish your education last summer. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? And
Sure. Well, I come from a small town in Lincolnshire called Grantham. I first read music as an undergraduate at the University of York before going on to the Guildhall School, where I spent 4 years there training as a postgraduate and then on the opera course for another 2 years. Sorry, 4 years in total, 2 years postgrad, 2 years opera course. I was then a member of the National Opera Studio for the, what year was it? 1819?
1819?
Yes. 1819. And I left the National Opera Studio in the June just gone. So I've been free from education for almost a year, which is scary.
Scary. You're out in the big wide world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the wrong time.
Yeah, or just the right time.
Or just the right time. Because it was great to see that you got creative quite quickly and started putting out these videos with multiple screens and accompanying yourself with clarinet. So what we're going to do today is basically go through your process in doing this, so that people can actually learn how to do it themselves, because it's slightly different than just streaming oneself in front of a piano, in front of a microphone, or with a backing tape. You're actually creating something more, a little bit more involved. I mean, how did you get into doing this?
Well, it just seemed like a good idea. I've always kind of been curious about how to do it. So I just started trying it out, really. I got some free software, Audacity, which is the thing I use to record and mix my audio. The video editing is kind of an afterthought, really. And it took me a while to find the video editing software that I use, which is DaVinci Resolve, which is free but amazing. It took me a while to find that and certainly to get used to using it. Okay. But yeah, I just thought I'd give it a try. It seemed like a good idea. I could play all the parts, so to speak. I had instruments to cover the range.
Yeah, great. Right, so you got a bonus in that you're a clarinet player as well, aren't you? So
yes, and my former clarinet teacher Paul Kenwood has just joined, which it's great to see you, Paul. There we are.
And Swan Home Artist soprano Susanna Gaspar is here as well. Hi, Susanna.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, how did you just before we get into the whole technical side of what you're doing, and you're going to give a demonstration of how to put a track together, which is going to be exciting. How did you move from clarinet to singing, and when did that occur?
Well, I was a singer first, actually. I came to music performance fairly late. I started singing when I was about 15.
Yeah.
And then I started to take it more. I found out that I enjoyed it, and I seemed to be quite good, so I kept going at it, and people seemed to be impressed, which was nice. And I got to 17. I was doing A-level music. The theory was all okay, you can study. But I did decide that I should learn an orchestral instrument. And it just so happened that a friend had an old clarinet, which they weren't using, and I was able to borrow that. So for the most part, I was sat in a room, just kind of teaching myself. It was like I could already read music, and so it was easier, because once you're past that kind of theory hurdle, it's much easier to learn fingerings, embouchure and stuff. I had a couple of lessons at school as well. The school provided, which was very nice. I went to a state grammar school in Lincolnshire.
Yeah. So you actually came to clarinet quite late. That's the thing. So.
Yeah, I was 17 when I started learning, and I turned up to university with. I was okay. I wasn't anywhere near on the level that some of the players were. It was a fairly strong performance university. But I stuck with it, and by the end of my time at university, I kind of caught up. I just practiced a lot.
Obviously. It's impressive what you've been doing with this gigantic range of clarinets, which you've been using in your videos. And you're going to take us through a few of those instruments today, and put together an excerpt from an opera aria, I believe, with
absolutely,
with clarinet orchestra accompaniment. So
yes, well, absolutely. So what we're going to do today is we're going to make a video. Well, I'm going to make a video, I suppose, from start to finish, from conception, and well, it's already been conceived. But apart from that, totally from start to finish, and hopefully we should be done within an hour. Hopefully. So I mean, I'm only using 3 instruments today to keep it. Oh, only 3 instruments today to keep it simple.
right. Yeah.
I've which you can see my setup over here. So
we've
this is how I record. I've got my computer here in the corner.
Yeah.
I have a music stand. My microphone is down here, connected with a USB.
Yeah.
I've got a little pound shop clip-on phone tripody thing, which you can see when I light my phone up.
So that's for the image, for doing the filming of the picture. Yeah.
That's how I film a take. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Over here, I have my instruments. I've got my 1 clarinet here, which is a C clarinet.
Yeah.
I've got my bass clarinet here. And for the viola part, I've got my A clarinet because it's a bit too low for the C.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So, and I'll be reading, apart from 2 parts, which I've transposed because I can't transpose these in my head, I'll be reading off a full score of the aria.
Right. Okay. Okay. Impressive stuff. Okay. So so let's just go through it. So you have just to go through that again. You've got a Zoom connected into your computer into the USB port, a Zoom H4n.
Yes. So here we have. This is my Zoom H4n. It's connected right now, and it's. I'll just try and get it without reflection. You can see. It's working as a USB microphone.
Which is a device that a lot of singers have, in my experience. They have a Zoom or something similar to record their lessons or coaching.
Yes. In fact, that was why I bought this Zoom. I had no idea I'd be using it for this.
Yeah.
You know, I've owned this. When I bought this Zoom in 2012.
Right.
So it's 8 years old now.
Yeah.
And it's still working just fine. And it's primarily been used to record my live performances so you can listen back or perhaps even upload it if it's good enough, you know.
Yeah, yeah, super. Just before we go on, we can also say that probably if one doesn't have a Zoom or something like that, one can record the tracks directly with the microphone on the computer.
You can, yeah.
Whatever program you're using. That's right, yeah.
Oh yeah, you can use you could absolutely use your integrated microphone with the software. However, with recording acoustic instruments, it will probably, and particularly operatic voices, it will probably cause a few distortion problems.
Yeah, so we would have to be pretty careful with actually adjusting the input level on the input from the computer microphone if you're doing that, which you can do in the settings usually.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll go through that. We'll absolutely go through that.
Okay, right. Let's roll on with the method, so to speak.
Great.
So over to you, and you're going to do a screen share, I believe.
We are. I'm just turning it on now. So a couple of things I'd like to say as an introduction to this first. So we've gone through all of the equipment. That's fine. Any other questions, people can ask them in the comments, or we can go through them as they come up. There are so many options in terms of software and microphones, everything for making things like this. I'm just demonstrating what I do. I'm by no means a professional. I'm producing something which I am happy with, but it's by no means a professional recording, you know. And there are quicker ways to do things, more efficient ways to do things. Yeah. And I might not be doing everything in the quickest and most efficient way, but it's what works for me. It's what I know how to do. So don't take my word as gospel by any means, but this is what I do.
One way to do it with some pretty impressive results.
Well, yeah, I'm happy.
Before we move on, we've got a question from Geraldine Allen, just showing could you show the cable between the mic and the computer?
I can't show the cable personally. I can't show you the cable, but I can tell you that because it's quite an old Zoom, it is a mini USB cable. So that's the very first design of a smaller USB. It connects to a regular size USB slot on the computer, but the slot on the Zoom, which I can show you actually, is I can't unplug it. but you can see the slot on the Zoom is about half the size. Now, USB technology has progressed quite a lot in the past 10 years, and we are now using what's called USB-C, which look like that, which are hollow, and they work both ways.
And that's the one the new Macs use for basically everything, right?
Yes, but you can buy whatever cable your microphone uses. If it's a USB cable, you'll be able to get for a couple of pounds.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Roll on.
We must crack on.
Yeah.
So have you got my screen there to pop on?
Yes, I shall add that. There we are.
Okay, great. So we can see my screen.
Beautiful logo on your screen, I've got to say, very classy.
Yes, I found it online. I don't know what it is. So
some odd company.
Yeah. So the first thing we have to worry about when recording is our setup. So here we have Audacity, which I've already got loaded. The first thing we have to do is check our latency. Every USB microphone has some sort of digital latency, the latency being the time it takes for the microphone to send the sound signal to the laptop or the computer.
Yeah.
And in my case, I go to Edit Preferences. This is the newest version of Audacity.
So Audacity is a program, just to add, Audacity is a program one can download directly from the Audacity site on the internet. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's free to use, free to download.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple. It's not professional editing software, of course, but it's very much usable for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So as you can see, we've got latency compensation there. Mine is set to 214 milliseconds, which I've set myself. So if I was to set that to 0, so now the software is not compensating for latency at all. There's a way to test this quite easily. You go to Generate Rhythm Track, which we'll be using later again, which I will go through in greater detail. So here we have a rhythm track. So what I need to do now is take my headphones. I'll have to stay quite close to the microphone. So what we're going to do is record the sound of the click track going through from my headphones. So I'm going to put my headphone over the microphone, record the click track, and then I'll show you what happens.
Okie doke.
Okay, so I recorded a little snippet of the click track there. Let's zoom in. Control and mouse wheel does that. So you can see, look at this distance here.
Yeah.
So that is the time. That was the sound. That's the sound playing there, and that was when the sound was recorded. And as you can see, in this instance, it says somewhere in the region of 242 milliseconds. Now, I've not been able to fathom why I can't just enter that value and it works.
Yeah.
But so if I go back to entering the value I had set up, sorry, I should have explained. I can't undo that. But so you saw the distance. So I need to go and change my compensation to the value it was before, which is, it must be negative, because if it was positive, it would move it forward as opposed to backwards.
So this is just to summarize. This is highlight. This is bringing the recording into line with the rhythm track you've recorded.
Absolutely,
yeah. It automatically locks it in with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So after you record the track, it will essentially slide it back to be in line, right, because it's compensating for the latency of your devices.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an essential. You have to do this if you're recording with a USB microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so let's give that another test.
A little tiny bit of a difference.
Yeah, it's still. Audacity also does adjust this slightly manually as well. So I just want to do another test real quick. Okay, so I still think we need another. It's changing slightly. It's a lot different. Now, the problem with this is because I'm running various things in the background, latency changes depending on how many processes your computer is dealing with at once. So I'm having to change this slightly. For now, let's do another test.
Ooh, still a little delay.
Yeah, I'm going to do one more in power. Yeah, we're still a bit latent, but that's okay. This is a process.
Pretty close.
Yeah, it's unfortunately I tested this earlier and it's changed. So that's because we're running a stream, I'm assuming. So let's just give that a go. More tests. Really?
Closer. We're getting there.
Closer. We're getting there. This is. I do apologize. I did test this earlier. I guess the stream is messing with it. One of those things.
Yeah. Oh, there we are.
That seems pretty dead on to me.
Yeah.
Do a couple more tests. A little bit variable.
Yeah.
A couple more tests.
But this is basically saving us a lot of time later with trying to line up all the tracks, right? So it's locking it all together.
Absolutely, yeah. And the issue with this is another issue I've discovered with using USB microphones and Audacity is latency is always slightly variable.
Yeah.
It's never. But if you can get the setting right, generally the variation won't be perceptible to your ear. So I'm just going to run one final test and just double check this. Sorry, something weird happened then. Yeah.
Great.
All right. There was a glitch the first time and it caused a very odd sound. But it looks like we're pretty much set up now. So
okay.
I must crack on because we're running a bit behind actually. So I've gone through Audacity. What we need to talk about is a click track now. So what I just generated was a rhythm track, and as you can see, we need to hear a rhythm track in our ear to play in time with ourselves. So you've got your tempo in the top on the top bar here, beats per bar. You can add swing, which I've never played around with because you shouldn't generally need swing on a click track. Number of bars, 1 to 1,000. 1,000 is plenty. The one flaw with the Audacity's rhythm track system is it's not capable of any kind of rubato.
Yeah.
So if I'm recording something that has tempo changes or rits, rals, slowing down, speeding up, I have to use my notation software. This is Sibelius, but you can use any notation software that's free. And this is just, I'm using this arrangement because it's already entered. So I have all of the tempo information available to me.
Right.
And I've made an extra 4 bars to be a 4-bar introduction before I start playing. So I've got enough time to get ready. And what I've done is I've added a couple of extra instruments by just adding some percussion instruments, a wood block. Can you hear that, by the way?
Yes.
Great. And I've added that to be, I've artificially made a rhythm track, which follows my tempo changes. As you can see, I've got a tempo change there. There's a rit, and so that will be exactly as is in Sibelius. So to record, if I can do this by selecting 2 instruments. So if I've got this, I can export the audio. I'm doing this very quickly, but you can rewatch the stream if it's too quick for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Export audio, and I'll be able to save that click track as a WAV file, and then drag and drop that into Audacity, and we have our click track with rubato. So I'll have to put that aside because we must move on.
Okay, so as Jake said, you can go back and watch this again several times if you need to get into the details of that whole process.
Absolutely.
Using Sibelius notation software.
Absolutely. So I'm going to have to crack on with... Oh, so we must talk about microphone levels, first of all. Okay, so here on the top left is our recording volume. This adjusts the sensitivity of the microphone. I found the best results for me are on about 40%. Some people would even be as low as 20. You know, the lower is sometimes better because you can always make things louder. But if you clip the microphone, and I'll demonstrate what clipping is right now. If I just press record and... So you see this? That's that's called clipping, and the audio signal was just too powerful for the microphone. It can't handle it. So
Exactly. Yeah.
what happens is it clips, which means we'll have distortion, which is impossible to get rid of. So you've got to play around with your recording levels to make sure you're not going beyond the lines of the audio track like this.
Yeah.
So I must absolutely crack on recording some tracks. If people have questions, please post them, and Stephen will get to them.
Yeah.
I will just warn you, while I'm playing instruments, it will sound to you, because of the internet connection, that I am not playing in time at all with the rhythm track, or what you can hear from my... You'll be able to hear everything I can hear in my ear while I'm recording. You'll also be able to hear what I'm playing, but because they're on separate microphones and going through the stream, it will sound completely out of time. But we'll listen back and we'll see that hopefully it will be in time.
Interesting. Sounds good.
So for this, I have to flip my headphones.
So do you have to create a track now for the first instrument in Audacity?
All you do is press record, and
Right.
it will automatically record to a new track, as you can see.
Right.
My volume's a bit too loud, so I'm going to turn it down. So without further... so what I do is I give myself a counting track as well. So I'll record perhaps one bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. And all that does is tell me when to start playing, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that seems in time to me as well, so that proves that our latency is okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. We're ready to get going. So I will have to flip around. So you'll be looking at the back of my head for a little while.
And the first instrument is?
The bass part, generally.
The bass part, all right.
I generally record the bass parts first.
Okay.
What I'm going to be doing at the same time is using the selfie cam of my phone to record a video of the take. How are we doing? Yes, and those videos will come in useful later, but they'll just stay on my phone for the time being.
Okay.
So let's get going. And I should also warn you, be ready to turn your volume down or mute it or something, because there might be some sort of feedback loop created by the setup I've got here, with the fact that I'm playing and you're getting two audio streams from me, essentially. So just have your finger on the mute button to avoid surprise deafness. That's just as a warning. Right, I'm going to crack on. Okay, so film. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. That's our first track I made. So this, because I made a mistake, this is going to in fact be perfect for demonstrating how to fix that. So let's just have
just to jump in, this is of course Mozart non più andrai.
It is, of course, yeah. So it was about here I made a mistake. See, I'm not very happy with that. So what I'm going to do is highlight it. Now, this is if I was to press delete, which you don't want to do, that's going to bring the rest of the track back, and that's going to ruin all of our timing. So let's undo that. Now there's a function in Audacity called remove special split delete, which is Control-Alt-K, which is keyboard shortcut you'll want to memorize. So when I press that, that will remove that section without disturbing the timing. So all I have to do is I'm going to set if I click here, it will record from a slightly later point. So this, I'm just going to patch that phrase that I wasn't very happy with. So there we have our little patch. Which is good enough for now. So I'm just going to trim the edges of that with split delete. You can see these little blips. These are extra noises that have been picked up. Now, what I would do in a full recording is edit all of those out with split delete. But I don't really have time to do that, so I'm just going to leave the noises in.
Yeah, well, we'll do a rough and ready recording here. So
absolutely. So once you've got your patch, you have to click on the new track, press Control, click on the old track, go to Tracks at the top, Mix and Render. There we have it.
Just like magic, pops up in.
Yeah, into one track. So that track's good enough for jazz or for Mozart. So I'm going to move on to the next track, which is the viola part.
Viola, played on which instrument?
The A clarinet.
The A clarinet,
right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I forgot to set my camera, so I'm going to have to redo that. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh dear me. There's a couple of nasty squeaks at the end, which I'll just have to quickly re-record. Sorry about that. I think that's probably good enough.
Yeah.
So let's mix and render. Now the viola part has a double stop in the last bar, so I'm just going to quickly record the second note. I'm not going to bother with a new video, but I'm just going to quickly record the double stop at the end, because obviously a woodwind instrument can't play two notes at once.
Okay.
There we are. Just to avoid patching in background noise, I'm just going to get rid of that.
And they will stay on a track of their own, am I right?
Well, I'm going to mix them into that track. It doesn't matter if you double up two notes there.
Okay.
And then I have the whole part on one track, and I'm able to balance it. Now, there was one thing I wasn't happy with at the beginning, which was, I think, how I played the first note. See, that track's just a little bit early. Now, I could re-record it, but there's actually a much simpler way to do that, which is just remove these little tracks of background noise. Just highlight it. There's a little slider tool here, the little arrows. All I have to do, zoom in a little bit closer. I'll line that up there. A little bit of cheating. And the notes are together. Now, these gaps are going to cause problems for reverb later on. So what I'm going to do is mix and render, and it will just get rid of those gaps. So we've got one long track. Okay. So I've got a lined up, for the most part, a lined up viola part, I'd say. Yeah, look at that. Lovely. Okay, so having to move on very quickly, I'm going to switch to my C clarinet to play the violin parts.
And this is the third and final instrument for this version, am I right?
Third and final instrument, but we're going to record most of the parts are actually on this because we've got oboes, horns, and violins.
Oh.
I'm not. So I'm going to quickly crack on with violin 2, which I am going to film.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to film all of the parts. I'm only going to film the string parts because they're the most interesting, and I haven't got time to show you how to edit 8 to 10 videos at once.
Yeah.
But we're recording all of the parts. Okay, so let's crack on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. Now I made one mistake, which I'm just going to edit really quickly. I had intended to not make any mistakes, but things happen. Oh dear, that's very messy, isn't it? So I'm just going to patch that, delete that. I made this mistake because I couldn't. It's a problem I'm reading from a full score. Okay. There we go. That should fix the problem.
Yeah, and that will lock into place using the latency settings you set before, of course. So it'll be all tightly in time with what we hear now.
Yes. So all we have to do is mix and render it together, and then we have violin 2. Now violin 1. Okay. I might make a few mistakes on this one as well. Right. Let's do it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm really sorry. I messed that up before I'd even begun it. My apologies. I'm going to try that again.
No problem.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That sounded pretty damn good to me, Jake.
I did make one mistake, which I'll just have a little look at. We'll see how bad the mistake is. A couple of those top notes were flat, but I won't worry about that for now. It's just
Okay, yeah.
little fluff for the fingers.
It's always the way, you know. It's like, well, I used to play in a rock band, and when we recorded a couple of albums, and sometimes you'd be like 2 hours recording a little 2-bar section that you just could not get right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The more you keep on trying to record it, the more tense and nervous you get about it.
Absolutely right. I'm just going to record.
Yeah, the whole key is to stay as calm as possible when you're recording, and just say, look, be relaxed about it, because
Absolutely.
You don't want to stress yourself out when you're at home in lockdown and you're just trying to get a perfect take of something.
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, this is just for fun. It's important to remember.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just going to go from a point where I know where it is. So. That's close enough, you know. It was a bit messy. No, I'm going to re-record that. I'm sorry. Can't live with it. Oh, now what I seem to have done is left in a track. Okay, so it's going to be very messy, and I would normally spend a lot more care over these recordings, you know.
Yeah. But it's all for demonstration purposes, so. Exactly.
So we have now videos of all of the string parts. So I'm just going to very quickly record all of the wind parts without filming them, because they're only about 4 notes all in total. So bear with me while I do that.
So you're building it up layer by layer.
Yeah. Exactly.
1, 2, 3, 4.
was horn 2. We're going to go swiftly on to horn 1.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so moving on again. Now you see what I've managed to do is I've still managed to create some clipping in some of these parts. So it's going to be a bit distorted. So I apologize for that. I just didn't test the levels enough. So it's why it's so important to test the levels. But it's not too much of a problem right
so
now.
if you've got bags of time to experiment and mess around, do take the levels down a little bit, so that they're nowhere near the lines at the top of the bottom of each track, right?
Absolutely. So oboe parts, very quickly.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, a little bit messy, but not a problem. Oboe 1.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so we have our instrumental backing recorded. Let's just give it a listen and check it's not too terrible.
One,
We
two,
can mute
4.
the click track for this too. So apart from the occasional moments of distortion, which I managed to create, which we've explained how to avoid, and I've given you a perfect example of how not to do that, that's fine. So let's record the vocal part.
Great.
This requires a slightly different microphone setup, so you have to bear with me while I just raise my tripod, so to speak.
Okay, so you're going to get the zoom up in line with your mouth.
We're going to record it pretty close. And turn the sensitivity down. I find that's the best option.
But not so close that you would need a pop shield or anything like that.
Oh no.
It's still like what sort of distance? A meter away from you or something like that?
An arm's length, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way of putting it. And I'll film this take as well. So I get a little camera set up there. And see if I remember this first verse as well. I have only just covered the role. I should know it. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we'll just record it straight away, and then I'll do that afterwards. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I do need to turn the sensitivity down for singing. Safer is better than sorry.
Exactly. You can always turn it up after.
Oh, I understand why I've had clipping. It's the Zoom was clipping because I forgot to change the settings on the Zoom. Zoom has a built-in sensitivity function as well, and I turned that down to 60, and for some reason it was on 80, so that's why it was clipping. Mystery solved.
That's the recording level. Little slider on the Zoom to be adjusted.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I must crack on.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Non ti andrai farfalloni amoroso, notte giorno d'intorno girando, nelle belle turbando il riposo, d'amor. Belle, belle, turbando il riposo, l'architetta Doncino d'amor.
There we have it. Whoops, I
Splendid.
recorded
Okay.
that. But,
Sounding
So-
fine. Sounding good.
right, and now we're finished with the phone. I'll need that later. So
So
we're
you're
now
going to bounce this down. Are you going to do a mix? Are you going to adjust
Yeah,
the level a bit first?
absolutely. We're now at the stage of editing the audio. So all of the instrumental parts are at the same volume as the vocal parts,
Yeah, yeah.
which is not what we want, apart from this very first note here. So, and that's the forte note. So I'm going to click. I know that's the forte note because that's the bass instrument playing the first note. So we're going to hold our mouse position there.
Yeah.
Scroll all the way down to where I know to just before the voice part. We're going to hold Shift. We're going to click and slide.
So that selects everything above that point. Am I right?
That's selecting all of the instrumental parts. Because this is a simple bit of music which is just piano under the voice. I don't need to adjust individual notes and address balance in that sense. I can just do it all at once.
So you bring the volume of everything down.
Yeah, so we've got it all selected. So now the key, the tool which will be your greatest friend is amplify. So you go to effect, amplify. Now, amplify implies generally increasing volume, but this slider also de-amplifies.
Oh, perfect.
And you can adjust. So if I say I want to drop that by about maybe for a good balance, probably about 4.5, 5 decibels down. So that will de-amplify all of that I've selected, and you'll see this. You see how the size of that almost halved. That's the volume.
Right.
So let's give that a listen. See if the balance is okay.
1, 2.
Oh, I also forgot to mention we can delete our rhythm track at this point.
Get rid of that.
We can use the same selection tool to slide all the way down, select everything. This time we can press delete because we want to get rid of all of that.
And that
So
brings
there
it
we are.
to start as soon as you press play, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we lose all of the nonsense at the beginning.
Yeah.
So let's give that a listen. You can see my voice is still much quieter than the track. So I can select the whole vocal track. Now, I don't want to bring it up too high. So what Audacity will do is it will tell you the maximum value you can increase the track before it will produce any clipping.
Right.
I would still not recommend increasing it anywhere near that high.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add a maximum of 3 decibels onto the vocal track. And I still know that the accompaniment is way too loud. So I'm going to do the same thing as I just did.
Amplify and de-amplify it instead.
Absolutely. We'll try 2.4. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
I still reckon it's going to be too loud, but we'll see. See, what we're dealing with is the same problem. So I'm going to go back. I've now undone the 2.4, and I'm going to do it much more drastically. See what we end up with. Better, but it's not perfect. So I'm going to... It's kind of trial and error with balancing, really. That should be okay. And I'm just going to drop the accompaniment even further. So this is obviously going to happen because you're recording on the same microphone for all of the parts. So they're all going to be the same volume, essentially.
So Geraldine Allen is asking, does it affect the sound quality if you change the mic level for different instruments? So I'm assuming that changing the mic level for different instruments is pretty necessary, actually, if they've got different volumes as such anyway, because you're going to have to. Some of them might be clipping or might be distorting anyway if they allow them.
I think for the best results, your best option is because you want consistency in background noise over your recording.
Yeah.
So you should always record at the same level, a level that's suitable for all of the parts, and you should use this process to address the balance.
So you set the recording level to the loudest instrument, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're going to get the best results doing this.
Yeah.
If your microphone levels are consistent throughout. So let's just give this one more listen. We're running out. We're doing okay. So I'm happy with that. So what I need to do is make sure that there's an equal amount of noise at the end of all of these tracks. So I'm going to find the one that's the shortest and do the same delete trick at the end. So all of our tracks have the same amount of noise at the end. There we are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the final touch, well, I should also save project as. I would recommend doing that. I haven't saved this at all, which I would really, really, really not recommend.
You recommend? I mean, the obvious
saving
thing
every track.
is keep saving as you're working, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm lucky I didn't lose all of this, to be totally honest with you. Okay, so we've saved. Now, the big magic kind of make sound nicer tool, I call it, is effect reverb. Here we go. So I've got it on a room size of about 100 reverberants, 40, 50. I've had good results with that. So generally the default setting is fine.
Default setting, okay.
And it will apply this to the whole track. If you don't select anything, it will automatically apply to the whole track. As you can see, the whole thing is selected. So let's give that a listen. You hear that echo?
There you are. Yeah. Now you're performing in the Carnegie Hall. I mean, some people
exactly. Yeah, you know, it's just that a click of a button. It makes it sound like you're not recording in your bedroom. You know. Yeah. So we've done our audio. So let's export it. So exports. I don't think you can export as MP3 without a plugin. So anyway, you want to export as a WAV file because that's uncompressed.
Yeah.
Uncompressed, high quality, universal formatted audio.
Basically CD quality. So.
Yeah, so it'll be for 3 minutes of recording. It'll be 3 or 4 minutes of recording will be about 50 or 60 megabytes, which is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
That's about right. So let's export that. They'll be mixed down and exported to one stereo file. Yes, that's what we want. I think that did it. That was quick. Here we are. So let's give that a listen. There we go. We have our track, 26 seconds. So
that's the Audacity work, basically, the sound recording.
Audacity done. We can close that down. So what I'm going to have to do is briefly end the screen share while I copy the video files from my phone to my PC, and I'll bring it back shortly afterwards. Just because connecting this via USB will potentially cause lots of issues with the.
So you have, is it 4 videos you did altogether? Of 3 different.
I recorded the string parts and the voice as well. So I have 5 videos.
5 videos. Yeah.
And we'll do as many of those as we can. I think we'll have time to do them all. Shouldn't take too long.
Splendid.
So what I'm doing now is just copying these from my phone. If you don't know how to copy videos from your phone or whatever camera you're using, there are plenty of guides online that will tell you how to do that, because every phone is different.
Yeah.
They all have different directories.
It depends if you're using a PC or a Mac or Android as well. So.
If you're recording off your webcam for videos, then that's going to be considerably easier because it's saved to your computer straight away.
Exactly. Yeah.
So here we go. 5 video files.
So they will transfer over to your computer. I mean, how big are the video files? Are they very heavy?
They're finished copying now. They're just 50 megabytes, so it was okay.
Generally,
a 4-minute video. Each video is going to be about, because my phone camera, even the selfie cam, films in 1920 1080.
Yeah.
Is that correct? I think that's correct, but flipped, so vertically.
Right. Yeah, so you're using the vertical. The vertical image is more useful in this case because you're performing. You want a bit more of the length of the instruments to be
absolutely
picture and everything.
Exactly. Yeah, you can record landscape, whatever you prefer, but there's a lot of dead space at the side of the video then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unless you're recording a duet together or something. So I need to start my screen share now. Apologies. Right.
Okay.
I'm going to have to race through this video stage. We've got 10 minutes. We should be okay. So we're on the stream. So we can see I've got my 4 videos. These are, I know the order in which I film them, so I can name them straight away as bass. I tend to name them after the instruments they originally were because that helps me remember. This is useful in a later stage. You'll see why. Having them named.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so
you basically recorded in the order going up through the bass instruments to the highest instrument last, and then the voice. So.
Yes, and that's how I knew which order the videos were in, because they have the little date modified.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're now opening Resolve. And
DaVinci Resolve is a program you can also download from, I believe, is it blackmagic.com, or do you know the name of the site?
Is it Blackmagic Design?
Blackmagic Design.
If you Google Blackmagic Design, you'll easily be able to find.
Yeah.
Find that. Excuse me, just having a quick drink.
Free program, doesn't cost a penny. So
it isn't. It doesn't, even though it is, Hollywood standard video editing software.
Yeah.
Blackmagic, of course, make their money off incredibly expensive hardware.
Some of the best cameras for just below the level of professional Hollywood level film cameras, I think, aren't they? But they have very similar results apparently. So.
Yeah. So all I did there was create a new project and name it Figaro.
Okay.
So here we are. We're in a brand new project in DaVinci Resolve. So what you want to do first of all is go to the Edit section.
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest screen to use. So we grab our files. You see them. We've got a media pool here. This is where we put all of our video files, and audio files. So we simply drag and drop into the media pool. See, DaVinci Resolve defaults to 60 frames per second for videos. Most phones and cameras will probably film in 30. Okay. I don't think you need to film in anything higher than 30. You're just doubling the size of your videos for very little bonus in these sorts of videos. So DaVinci has a feature which will automatically change the project's frame rate to match that of your videos. So you absolutely want to do that. Yes, change. And there we have our videos, and we need to get out.
So everything in DaVinci will now happen at 30 frames per second.
Absolutely, yeah, because the videos are 30 frames. You can't make a 30 frame per second video 60. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And we want to add we want to drag our audio file too.
Okay, so you drag the whole lot into the same little window there in Resolve.
Yeah, very easy. That's our media pool. Now I would always recommend saving. Oh, we already saved the project, but I would always regularly save the project because I lost one once because DaVinci Resolve crashed and I forgot to save, so I had to start again.
Nightmare scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So not many tools you need to really know about to do this. So to get our audio, this is our timeline here. This is where everything happens. Mm-hmm. There's nothing there right now because there's no video, there's no background. So if we get our audio, that will and drag it down
into the timeline.
Yeah. Exactly. It will automatically create a video track, even though there is no video, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see down here, we've got the waveform of the sound there.
Right.
And that's 20 seconds. If we play, we've got our audio.
Mm-hmm.
So now we just need to add it layer by layer. I go from the bottom up, why not? We drag another video down. What is important is that we don't overwrite the video track here and do this, because this will delete.
We've already put on here.
Yeah, this will delete what we already have down.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure it creates a new track. You can see there, if I start it above, it says video 2.
Yeah.
And we can see roughly, we see our sound matches, but at a bit of a delay, because obviously I pressed record on the camera much sooner than the audio file demonstrates. So one important thing you want to turn off straight away is it will default to being on. It's this little magnet symbol, snapping. Snapping defaults to being on, and what that means is when you try and drag a file, you see that it snaps.
Yeah.
At about 20 frames. Now we need to do adjustments that are like 1 frame, 2 frames difference. So we can't have that turned on because we won't be able to line up our videos essentially. So make sure that snapping is turned off. That's this little magnet symbol. It will be grayed out if it's off. You see, on is white, off is gray.
Mm-hmm.
So the next important tool is this tool here, the dynamic trim mode, which is a toggle. You turn it on, you see it goes yellow. And we can, all I have to do is click on the end, you see that symbol come up, drag it to where I roughly know, as I can see from the wave, that the track starts. Now, if I delete too much, oh no, I've just cut it too far and I've ruined the whole thing. But DaVinci's clever, you can undo that by just dragging it back.
Okay.
Easy enough.
And can one zoom in to see if one's doing it a little bit more accurately? You
can. There's a little zoom tool here on a slider.
Right.
But I prefer actually to work kind of like this, where I can see everything.
Wide view here.
Yeah. So I just drag it back to a rough placement, and let's give it. So what we're going to use the audio from the video. We're going to listen to it, and we're going to do this. I prefer to do this based on what I hear. Martin John asks, "Did you say Resolve was free?" Yes, it is free. That, to my ear, that's a tiny bit late. So what I'm going to do is trim a couple of frames off and drag back. Whoops. I'd call that in line.
Yeah. So you do this. You always prefer to do this by ear rather than by trying to match the two audios. Right?
You can only when you're starting to deal with one frame of time, which is a 30th of a second. You really can only tell by ear.
Okay.
Like if it sounds together, then the video is lined up.
Right.
Of course, if you record in a different way, like if you're miming, for example, some people prefer to film a music video where they're miming along, and they do a studio recording separately. For that, you're going to want to use like a clap system where you have at the exact same point on the audio and all of the videos. You do a really loud. This is what the when they're filming Hollywood. This is what the snap is for, because it allows them to line up the audio of various tracks.
Yeah.
But for me, for the way I do it, doing things by ear is the best option.
Okay.
So we've got this video. So I'm going to click on the track here, and it brings up these video settings. Now, we're not going to be able to fit 5 videos in if we have it zoomed in at full size. So I'm going to guess, generally I use about 0.5, but we'll address this later. And this is our X position here, which just moves the video from left to right. Y moves up and down.
Just to butt in, this screen that we're looking at here, where you're moving things around, is the screen that people will see as the final product on the video.
Absolutely, yeah. This is. The more videos you add, the harder it's going to be for you to preview it within the software. And you kind of, once you get past 5 or 6 videos, you really have to start doing things by using the system down here, because you're not going to get an accurate representation up here, because it's going to lag too much.
Okay.
Because it requires a huge amount of computer performance to cope with multiple video tracks. What's the maximum amount of screens you've put of different shots? I have added, I think, 11 tracks.
11.
Okay. And I couldn't preview it past 7 or 8. I had to use the system that But there's a way that allows you to line it up, which we'll get to when we add another track. So I'm just going to slide this out of the way for now. And I'm going to add our next track. I realise we're already at an hour. I apologise that we're running over slightly. But
well, it's a very educational session, so I'm sure people will be willing to watch for a long time.
The video editing, in my experience, is the quickest part of the whole process.
Right.
And once you so the trimming tool is still turned on. So we can. Oh, and one important thing I forgot to mention is once you've lined up the audio using the so video 2 is our bass clarinet track.
All right.
As is audio 2. We want to mute that video's audio now, because we're not using it.
And that is done. How do you mute that audio? Exactly.
There's a little mute button there.
Mute button there. Okay.
And that mute button will apply when you save the video as well. So once it's highlighted as muted, you don't need to ever worry about it again.
Yeah.
You could delete it from the video, like if you wanted to save performance, but I don't know how to do that. You can do it, but I've not found that I needed to.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go a bit speedier now. Oh dear me, I selected the wrong thing. Sorry. There we are. Line this up. So you see, what DaVinci Resolve is doing very cleverly is just displaying the one video we've just imported.
Yeah.
What this does, it allows you to play it back and line it up without affecting performance too much, because you can't see the other. It's not processing the other videos at this time.
Okay.
It's a very clever tool to make up for performance issues.
Yeah.
So let's give that a listen, see if we're in line. I think that's a tiny bit early. I'm just going to go slide one frame to the left, to the right, sorry. That's in line. So now what is also important is I just slid it one frame to the right. So we've now got one frame. If we zoom in super close, we've now got one frame where there's no video track there. That's going to mean we get a staggered effect of all the videos kind of plopping onto the screen. It's going to look very messy. So you can add those effects by doing it more when you've got everything in place and you want to work it out. But for now, I'm just going to make everything start at the same point.
So I'm going to adds a little bit you removed.
I cut one frame out of the video. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to zoom back out because that's in line. We're going to mute it. Now we're going to try and be as uniform as possible. I'm going to use the same numerical settings for zoom for now. So what I'm aiming to do is have 4 instruments, one on either side in squares. So square, 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 square. And I'm going to have a big rectangle with the singing in the middle.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is actually I'll need a zoom of probably about 0.6. That's of course a percentage. That's 0.6 of the original size. And what I'm going to need to do is slide them something like this. I don't know.
All right.
And below that we have cropping tools. These are all reversed. So if I crop left, oh no, that's correct. Sorry, it's the top and bottom that's reversed. If I crop top, it takes away from the bottom. Crop bottom takes away from the top. Don't ask me why. I don't know.
So why would you prefer to do this rather than to just adjust the size of the film, of the whole image?
When you're working with a lot of tracks, it's to get them to all fit in this original size, because it's such a rectangle. You'll end up with very small videos if you want them all to be the original size. Whereas you can't really see what I'm doing for this part of the clarinet anyway. Yeah. And there's this dead space on top of my head, you know.
Right.
So I kind of, as long as you're consistent. So I do the maths. So that's 200. Yeah. And that's 110. Make the maths easier. All I have to do is, I don't have to crop 200 and 110 exactly from the other video. Oops, sorry, so if I try 110, that's fine. 200 from the bottom.
Put in the same settings, yeah?
Yeah, so they're the same size now. Now, if I can relate these, so the X position of that is 570. I can make that is negative 570. That means it's moved to the left. So if I do, there we are. It's exactly the same point. See, I can make that Y position. Let's be round. If I make this negative 235, that will be at this exact same point relatively to.
So you're actually putting in these numbers here, but you can actually do the same thing by dragging, just by dragging.
You can. It's just much. It's quite hard to get a precise. But it's not always perfect. You know, you have to experiment a bit with spaces. So I'm going to call that done for now. Yeah. I'm going to call those tracks done. I'm going to make sure I save my progress. So let's drag in the voice part, because that's what I want to be in the middle of the screen. And it's often, if you've got a solo instrument, it's wiser to line that up earlier, because it's more important that that's in line than any of the other parts.
All right. So where exactly did the other? There was two film reels there of your instruments playing. Where did? So they disappear behind
The software temporarily hides it to show you the brand new video, which allows you to line up the new video just without your computer having to process all the videos at once.
Right. So don't panic. Basically, it hasn't.
Yeah, don't panic if that happens. Absolutely. Yeah. So let's cut that to. That's where the singing starts. So let's see how in line this is now. As you can see, my video is a little bit late, so I'm going to drag it back a couple of frames. Now you can hear a slight echo. That means that echo means that the video is 1 or 2 frames out of shift in a certain direction. So if you hear an echo like that, you can experiment by adding 1 frame. That's made the echo worse, so I'm going to instead take away 2 to go back to my 1 before, and let's see. Perfect. We're in line. So we have to mute that video there. So now, as you can see, video. Now, because I haven't adjusted any of the settings, Resolve is still applying that overwriting technique. But all I have to do to fix that is go to a point like this, and all I have to do is, if I zoom out, and then I zoom back in, oh dear me, there we go.
Yeah. So everything is on screen now. Yeah.
Yes, but so anyway, but it's currently overwriting it. That's not a problem because I'm going to be cropping. Not that. I did the same thing. It's reversed. I'm going to be doing this. Get rid of, because I want to be fairly center. I don't want people's focus to be on my ceiling.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to move it. Sorry, not X. I wanted to move Y up, so it's a little more centered. There we are. That looks good to me.
Splendid. Yeah.
So what we can do now is, because the voice turns up a little bit later than I'm going to undo this cropping tool for now. Because the voice turns up a little bit later, what we can do is, we've got video transitions here. And if I just go to Additive Dissolve, drag it over, just pop that effect on there. Watch what happens. As you can see, the video is lagging quite considerably because that's just what happens. But you can see if I drag it, the video slowly appears. But I want the video. I want
little fade in there, you know. So.
Exactly, yeah. But I want the video to appear before I start singing. So I'm going to drag that back a little bit. Now it lagged the effect, but because of I know that that's going to work because the singing is there. There we are. So I know that that's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave that be, and we're going to save our progress. And we're going to pop our violin 2. Make sure we create a new track, which is video 5. Now I'm adding more and more tracks, so it's getting, and especially because I'm running a stream and screen sharing, this is really making my computer work quite hard.
So it's going to be a little bit stuttery for now, is it? We're going to see a bit of. It's
going to be lagging more than it usually would when I'm editing video on its own and not streaming and sharing my screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just using a laptop. You know, I'm not using a. It's a good laptop. Don't get me wrong, but it's about 6 years old, and it's not a top of the range professional PC by any means. So it is possible to do this on fairly standard laptops. You know.
Great.
Or even better, standard PCs. PCs always perform better than laptops. That's
exactly
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the same old crop trick. The same old.
Finding the start. Yeah.
Exactly. It's out of shift in a way. I just can't tell. I'm going to have to experiment a little bit by adding a couple of frames. Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make it start at the beginning as you normally would. Mute the audio. I remember my settings from last time, which is 0.6. Now, I must check the X position is 570, negative 5. So this one I want to be positive 570 to go to that side.
Okay.
And then my cropping settings were 200, 110.
Yeah. So while you're working, you may want to write these down if you're going to apply the same
Yeah.
cropping to a lot of different files.
Exactly. But what I've done is I've cropped the top of my head off. So I'm just going to adjust the proportions slightly, and I'm going to cut 210. So the exact same. I've cropped the exact same number of pixels off the video.
Yeah.
Just actually, even 100 is too much. So I'm going to crop 65, which means that I'm doing some maths now. What did I have? I had 200 and what were my previous settings? 200 and 110. So I've cropped 310. So now I need to make that 200. Wow.
Is there any way of dropping into one of the other files to see what the exact settings were?
Yeah, it was 200, 110. So I need 45 extra taken off.
Mm-hmm.
So not 200. I need 155. No, wait, that's the wrong way. 265. There we go.
Right.
I just adjusted the wrong setting.
Mm-hmm. So you get that up into the same sort of position. You do that just by eye. Am I right?
Yeah, you can, because of the crop proportions are different. The positions of X and Y are always slightly different. You can totally do it by looking. You can do it mathematically if you're really that kind of minded. But
yeah.
Right now, just for the sake of getting this video done, I'm going to do it a bit quicker. So it's in roughly the right place.
Okay.
So one more track to do.
Final track. So that creates the 5th track. Am I right?
That's right. Violin 1.
Yeah.
Do the same old crop. Oh, I don't know what that was. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. A bit of a long lead in on that one, right?
Yeah, a little bit longer. I must have pressed record.
Yeah.
A bit quicker. So I think. Oh, it's really struggling now. Okay. There we go. So let's give it a listen. Oh, sorry. There we go. Yep, that sounds in line to me.
Great work.
I'm not using the video because the video is going to be lagging too much to be able to see, in my opinion. So I'm just doing it by ear again. So violin 1 is now in place. So let's 0.6. And let's try the old is it 110, 200? I've chopped off my head again.
Yeah.
So I'll do the same settings as violin 2, which is 265. 65. My maths has been I've messed up the maths, but I'm not going to worry about it.
Looks about right.
Yes, and 65. I'm just going to do this by eye because I'm not going to worry about. I'm not going to be pedantic about this right now. I know that that's 570 though. That's about right. So there we go, 4 videos. Now, what I could do now is play around and make sure that they fit an exact square, make them bigger, zoom them in and out. But that would take a lot of time.
You can basically be as perfectionist as you want. But
you can fiddle with those settings. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to call that done.
Yep.
So what is important now is we go to the end where we want our video to stop, which needs to load, which is, let's have a look. Oh, we're missing a video. Funny enough. How on earth does that happen? Oh dear. I think I may have cut too much off the bass clarinet.
No. Can you drag that across? Replace that again?
Yeah. I'm so confused. Oh yeah, I must have accidentally deleted way more of the. I don't know when this happened, but it's good that you check, because clearly some sort of error happened on my bass part and it's completely dragged it out of shift. So I'm going to unmute that and just check that it's in line by listening again. So it's quite hard for me to tell now that that's in line. I don't know what happened, but that's in line enough for me. So let's mute that. Don't ask me how that happened. I genuinely don't know, but we fixed the problem.
These things do occasionally happen in technology, don't they? So
yeah, I must have accidentally slid it when there is a lock function. You know, you can press that little padlock there and lock each track. Okay. But when you're cutting, that doesn't. So I should have locked it, and it would have stayed still, and I wouldn't have been able to do anything to it.
Keeps it safe from tampering. Yeah.
So there we are. I can see the video's ended there. So I'm going to leave the playback line there. I'm going to go to cut at the bottom here. It will eventually load. Playback line will always stay in the same place. There's a little scissor tool there. Just going to press it. It's cut all of our tracks. So all I have to do is control select all of them.
And is this just the audio or the video as well?
Our video now ends at the same place. That cuts. When you have video tracks in, unless you create a visual layer on top of the audio, it will just automatically cut the audio down.
Okay.
So that has cut everything, including the audio. Don't ask me why, but I know that it has.
Everything will be cut at the same point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It all just disappears. I could do fade outs, blah 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 blah, but we don't need to worry about that right now.
Right. Okay.
So let's save our video. Deliver down at the bottom. Now, if you're saving for a regular, there are all sorts of interesting settings over here. For various. So you can export audio only, blah blah blah. But YouTube is just a standard
file that's not too big, so you can load it up in a reasonable amount of time, right?
Exactly. And I'm just going to save it to so it's in here. I'm going to call it Figaro. So I don't use a Mac, so I'm going to change it from QuickTime to MP4. If you use a Mac, QuickTime, you know, the usual.
That's what I tend to use.
MP4 is a standard. You know, YouTube, anywhere, Facebook, Twitter will accept it.
Yeah.
Don't need to worry about any of the other settings, but make sure the playback is at the start, just to be safe. Add to render queue. Here is our render queue over here.
So render queue basically means the process of burning it down to one smaller file.
Exactly. Yeah. What the software does is it sits through and it renders absolutely every frame. So it doesn't matter how laggy it was when you're playing it back, because that's not what your computer uses to render the video. It renders it frame by frame once it's all lined up, you know, which is why the rendering process takes quite a long time. So if you wanted to render it in several formats, like you wanted a Mac format and an MP4 format, you could QuickTime and add a second process there. And it would you press start render, it would do both of them one after the other, but I don't need to worry about that.
And I think most people would probably just want to have one single video file, which they can upload to social media and YouTube. So.
Exactly. So that's rendering now. Do we have any questions while that's going? That'll take a minute or two.
Yeah, does anybody who's watching have any questions about this? We had a few nice comments. James McCorrin Campbell enjoyed it. He didn't have time to see it all, but he's going to watch the rest later on. So
yeah, sorry, it took much longer than we anticipated.
Yes, but that's fine. I mean, it means that people can go back and reference this as much as they want and learn bit by bit. I think that's a very important way to look at a video like this.
I also realise I've left a little speck of audio there, which you can see, which is attached, which I forgot to delete. But I could easily go, but because it's rendering, I'm not going to worry about it. But I could easily go back and delete that and re-render it.
And when we're seeing this the line going across the timeline. Is that showing us how it's rendering in real time?
That's showing the progress. Not I suppose it is real time in terms of the process. Yeah. It takes much longer than the length of a video to render a video.
Yeah, exactly.
Like between 5 and 10 times, you know, depending on how many layers you've got. So that is rendered because it's a short video. It only took 54 seconds, which is wonderful, which is about double the time that is the length of the video. So here we have our, interesting, 0 kilobytes. I think an error may have happened. So let's have a look. No, we're fine.
Compiandrai farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando, delle belle turbando il riposo, Narcisetto adoncino d'amor. Delle belle turbando il riposo, Narcisetto adoncino d'amor.
There we go.
Okay, so the way we were seeing it on the screen then was quite it was a very jerky image. I mean, you were seeing that the actual file itself has got a very smooth image. It's running very smoothly. Yeah.
Yes, it has. I'm just wondering if there's any way that you could share the video in a more effective way. Could you actually share this video as a file on the stream?
I could, but I think the best thing to do, to be honest, would be if once you've got it uploaded, I will put it in the comments section of this Facebook Live, basically, so that we can round off now, basically, and people can come back with the final result from the link. That's probably the best.
That's a good idea. So the final video will be in the comments. As messy as it is, it will be an unlisted video, so I won't list it publicly on my profile. But if you have the link in the comments, you'll be able to view it.
Available to all the budding filmmakers who are going to be now downloading Resolve and getting to work on this sort of material, I hope.
Exactly. So I'm going to stop my screen share now while we finish.
Splendid. Okay. Right. We're just about done, I think, Jake. Thank you very much for that. That's been a very thorough run-through of both Audacity and Resolve and how to make these videos. Just finish off with what's your next project in these? What do you have planned for the next few days?
So I actually haven't been making a new project yet because I am submitting an entry for what has been known as the Eurovirus Song Contest, which some people may have seen on Facebook. I will also post a link to that in the comments because my next Corona project will be an entry to that. But for that, I am writing a song and scoring it, and then I will be recording it with this process in some way. So it's a bit more of an involved process. It's taking because I haven't written it yet. I'm about halfway through, and then I have to record it. So it'll be an original piece of music with an original text, not an original text, quite a famous Spanish text, which should be quite fun.
Okay, so it'll go up on your own YouTube as well at the same time as you.
It will be broadcast live as part of the Eurovirus Song Contest, but after that it will be made available. Yes, on my as that will be Corona Project 12, I think.
Super. Yeah. Okay, and when is the Eurovirus Song Contest?
I believe it's the 2nd of May.
Okay.
Let me just double check that for you.
So
get the information up.
People could log in or visit the site and see this contest live, I take it.
They could, absolutely. There's an event on Facebook, which I will also share. It is on the 2nd of May at 8 p.m. UK time.
Okay. Great. Okay, well, we all look forward.
It's tremendous fun.
Yeah.
This is the second time they've done it, and the first one was hilarious. So.
Okay. So it's all sorts of short, homemade, artistic.
Artistic is a strong word. Spoofs, I think, are more.
Okay, well, that sounds fantastic. Yeah. Okay, well, best of luck with that. And once again, lots of thanks coming here in the comments. So this will be very useful for the singer community, I think, and for musicians as well across the board who are trying to make these kind of videos. So thank you very much, Jake.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. If anyone has any further questions, please do email me. You can find that on my website or in various other places. Happy to answer questions.
Great. And if there's and you can also put a comment in the video in this Facebook Live thread, and we will all, both Jake and I, will see them in the coming days, weeks, if there's any more questions that we can answer there as well. Yeah. So thanks again, and see everybody soon.
Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.